Hey everyone, I'm going to show you 20 steps on how you can make your own professional video game montage. The game doesn't matter, just use these 20 steps and you can make your own montage. So step number 1 is getting clips. Whether that be your own clips and you're collecting them and you've been saving them, or you reach out, maybe community members send you clips, you make a community montage, or maybe you're an editor for a player and you just talk to the player and you get their clips. But step 1 is always collecting the clips. Step 2 is you need to organize your clips. You can't just have the clips and then dive right into the project. You need to get them organized. What I like to do is have a 3-folder structure. I call folder 1 best, folder 2 good clips, and folder 3 filler clips. And I watch every single clip and find out what is the best clip, or what has, like, say, a huge sniper shot or a really impactful moment. I put those in the best folder because those are the ones I want to have on the very important parts of the song. So I want to have them organized so I can see right away that's a good part of the song. I'll put the best clip there. Or I have like a specific idea in mind and I need to use the best clip for, say, maybe your finisher or your opener of your montage. The second folder, good clips, those are the ones you'll put in next. Then you have your third folder, which are filler clips, which you'll find if you don't want to just put angles everywhere. You need to have some momentum, so those are the lower quality clips. Still good enough to be in your montage, otherwise you wouldn't include them at all. But you need some of those clips, that just kind of fill the space. Step 3 is one of the most important ones, and that is having a plan and knowing your style. Montage styles can vary from being super aggressive, fast-paced, and kind of like metalcore or action style, or they can be a little slower, calmer. It's really up to you, but you need to have a plan going into it because that's really going to affect your song, because your song basically is the style of your pacing, your cutting, and the overall feel of your montage. That leads into step 4, which is finding a song. You've already picked out your style and you planned it out in the step before, so here you just really need to find your own song. For YouTube, I recommend copyright-free music. I subscribe to Monster Cat, which is like a website that gives me copyright-free music. I pay monthly for that, but that's a way to make sure my YouTube channel is safe. All my other big montages in the past have not been copyright-free music, so you kind of roll on the dice that YouTube doesn't take down your video. You're obviously not going to make money off it because it's copyrighted music, but if you are going to use copyrighted music, make sure you test that song out, maybe upload a few unlisted versions of the montage with that song, and see if it is blocked in several countries or if you're good to go. Step number 5 is straightforward. You just make your project. I'm going to use Adobe Premiere for this project, but any editing software, you just need to create your project. Step number 6 is putting markers on your music. So in our project, we're going to make our timeline, and we're going to place our music onto the timeline as our first thing, and we're going to listen to the whole song, placing markers. In Adobe Premiere, you press M to place a marker, but you have to be selected on the clip. I'm going to place markers on either the tempo of the song, if you want to figure that out exactly and use that to cut, but mainly you want to place it on the big impacting moments that I mentioned earlier, say the bass drops or a beat kicks in, something that'll be very powerful to sync with your gunshots. Step number 7 is your rough sync. This is where you kind of sync all your gameplay up to those markers that you put on the timeline. They don't have to be exact because sometimes you have to speed up and slow down the footage to really get it to fit on the markers and have the gunshots exactly be on the beat. That's okay, this is just a rough pass and you can see it in your mind how you're going to sync it. So you're just placing them on there and getting a feel for it. Now continuing that with step number 8 is our fine sync. This is where you might go into After Effects and you might use either the plugin Twixtor or you might time remap, which is the default in After Effects, to change the speed of your clip, whether that be speeding up or slowing down, just to make sure one sniper shot lines up with another sniper shot, both on the beat, as an example. Really using these time altering plugins to line up your syncing so it's exactly on the beats that you want or the markers we put out earlier. Step number 7 is planning out your cinematics or your camera angles. Looking down on our timeline, we can see spaces in between our clips that we have synced, which we could either put more filler clips or you can put cinematics. And because we're planning out our cinematics, we really want to see what happens right before the space and right after the space and get a cinematic that tells a story. And not only tells a story, but connects the dots between one clip to the other, kind of leading you through it. Step 10, straightforward, is recording those cinematics that you've been planning out. This really depends on your game, on what kind of theater mode they have, or what kind of spectator mode you might have to alter to look like a theater mode, but you'll have to go through those steps depending on your game anyways, but record your angles is step number 10. Step 11, straightforward, you're just going to place those angles on the timeline and kind of play around with the ones you've recorded to see what works best, but it's just roughly placing the angles on the timeline, similar to the rough sync we did earlier. Step number 12 is visual effects. For me, this is the largest step in the process. It takes the most amount of time, and this is really where everything comes to life. I don't overly do a lot of VFX, but it still takes the most amount of time for me. So people that do heavy VFX, this is gonna be huge. And this is where we can kind of do what we did with our fine sync earlier, with our cinematics, kind of make it flow in or flow out depending on the tempo or the beat of the song. You can use Twixtor to whip it in, whip it out, do all these masking transitions. There's tons of things you can do, and I have lots of tutorials on my channel on what you can do for visual effects. But VFX is this step, and it is a big step, and expect to spend most of your time here. Now, step number 13, I actually go right into color correction. I know normally in film production, you would do color correction and audio at the same time, but since we're just one person and there aren't separate people working on this, I'm going to do color correction first, because that way, once I finalize my color correction, I can kind of select or highlight my whole timeline and click render, just so like it's all rendered out, so I can quickly play it in real time playback. That way, when I'm doing my audio, I don't have any hiccups with the video. It's all rendered and it's exactly how it looks, and I can focus fully on audio. So this step, color correction, that leads into the next step, which is sound editing. Sound editing is placing all the sound effects. For me, I don't use in-game audio. I just wipe it out and I do all my own gun sounds, swish sound effects, character sound effects, ambiance, or any sound effects I need to use for transitions, whether it be glitch or something like that. And this step of sound editing is just placing them on the timeline and getting them in the positions you want them. Step 15 is now sound mixing. This is a very important step to make sure your audio levels are not peaking, they're not going red on your channels, and you want to make sure it all sounds and flows together. It can be an issue because you might have a gunshot on the biggest part of your song, so it's like clashing together, and maybe like a body fall or a death sound effect. So you really need to make sure they don't clash too much. I mean, it's still important to have those big moments, but you have to make sure the levels are right. And in the past, on 2 of my big montages, I have hired someone to do the sound mixing because it's that important. But usually, most of the time, I do it myself here in Premiere. And it's just playing with the levels, fading clips in and out, and selecting my channels. Remember to keep everything very organized. I keep all my sniper shots on one layer or one track, which usually takes up 3 tracks, I would say. And then under that, rifle sound effects. Then under that, swish sound effects, or any of my other sound effects. That way, I can be like, oh, all the gun sounds are too loud. Let me go into my tracks and just bring down track 1, 2, and 3, which are all my sniper sound effects. That way it's easy and you don't have to go individually to change all of them. You just keep them all on one track. So I highly recommend having your sniper shots or your big shots at the top, then maybe your music, and then your other rifles, then sound effects kind of down below. So each section of your tracks is dedicated to a specific sound. That way you can control the tracks easier when you're doing your sound mixing. Step 16 is a very important step that I'm sure a lot of people don't do. It is quality checking. And this doesn't just mean you watch the video yourself on your nice computer. This means you watch it on a bad computer, you watch it on your TV, you watch it on your phone. You need to really test it on all these different screens and to see specifically what YouTube's compression does to your video. So you need to upload it to YouTube, keep it unlisted, and see how bad YouTube's H.264 codec makes your color correction looks, giving you the opportunity to change your output settings and to really tweak your color correction if it does look bad. Heads up, YouTube's color correction, or YouTube's compression, I should say, is H.264 codec, which compresses the blacks and whites, so your blacks are going to get darker and kind of brought down, so maybe be careful with that and play around with that. Once you are happy with it, step 17 comes in and is getting feedback from other people. Specifically, I would say other editors, but I oftentimes get my roommate's opinion on it. They're not editors, but it's kind of nice to see anyone's opinion. If something stands out to them as odd, they'll tell you and you can kind of reconsider that part of the video. Or you don't have to listen to them. I mean, you take into the knowledge and use it how you want. A lot of times they'll tell me things and I might not change it, but it's good to hear it and it's good to know. Step 18 is your final export. Like I said, YouTube does the H.264 codec, so I'd really just suggest doing an H.264 export, having it a 2-pass and having it fairly high. You can Google what the best render settings for your resolution for what your video is. Step 19 is picking a release date. Straightforward, but you need to have a date a little further in advance. You can't just upload your video. You want to have a date picked out because this is an important montage you put a lot of time into. And we're going to lead into step 20 here, which is marketing your video. This is very important because you want more people to see it. You want to see the hard work you put in. And if you're proud of your video, you really want people to enjoy it and more people to enjoy it. Because of that, marketing your video is very important. So things like promoting it on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, or even just setting a premiere date on YouTube can all really help with eyes on the video because people can share and everyone's on social media, so it's a very important step and one a lot of people don't think about, but marketing should be in the back of your mind when you're going forward. Now, I didn't put this step in. I realized I just had 20 steps, but I'm going to add one more here at the end. The thumbnail is very, very important. I would say if there's a huge montage, hire a thumbnail artist. But if you're good at thumbnails, make one yourself. So a kind of bonus step is your thumbnail, because really on YouTube, that's more important than the title. Thumbnail, very important. You can copy what other montages do, add your own flair, but that's going to be the bonus step. And hey guys, hopefully you liked this video. I went through and I've recorded myself making a whole montage to kind of help make this video as well. This should be uploaded on Monday, which is January 11th, which is my birthday. I turned 28 today, which should be the day it's uploaded. As a birthday present to me, I would love if you guys would subscribe, and if you want to see more tutorials like this or actually in-depth tutorials, let me know down in the comments and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks.